للتذكير تنطلق الآن المحاضرة الأولى تحت عنوان مفاجآت في الابتكار الاجتماعي في مجال التعدين الدولي. تقدمها الدكتورة ويندي.
مرحبا. Hello everyone, I'm really delighted to speak with you at this conference about social innovation. Thank you for the opportunity. I've entitled my talk, I Didn't Think I'd Be Here, Surprises in Social Innovation in International Mining. And I've given this title for a few reasons. Firstly, that in many ways I didn't think I'd be here today, and that solving some of the world's complex challenges requires people to work together. And also because many of the people that I've encountered and continue to encounter in mining and social innovation also have a sense that they didn't think that they'd be here. So I want to talk about others who've had surprise as part of their conversations that they didn't think they would be a part of, which have been enriching and thought-provoking. When I think of social innovation, I think of novel solutions to social needs and challenges. And mostly in my experience of social innovation, it requires active collaboration between business, government, civil society and communities. Development partnership is at the very heart of my organisation, the Development Partner Institute. And I'm going to talk about inclusion and diversity of perspectives and why we believe that it's critical to successfully applying the ideas of development partnership. So more about that soon. Firstly, though, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the beginning of my journey. I was raised on a cattle property in central Queensland in Australia. And my first experience of encountering mining was exploration drillers on our property when I was a child. And it was not a happy memory. So picture this. We breed and grow cattle, and we're in the midst of a very long and unforgiving drought. We carefully manage our stock and our water so that we keep our cattle fed and hydrated. And it's daily work that requires careful checking each day. It's stressful for farmers around the world because you don't know when rain is going to come. And amidst this stress and strain, when I'm a little girl, exploration drillers arrive. And they tell my parents that they will carve a seismic line through our property to be followed by exploration drilling along that seismic line. The preliminary work takes weeks, and there's a lot of activity in what was previously a very quiet farm. And then one day, as the drilling has advanced, my father's doing his round of checking water and stock. To his absolute horror, he sees that the drillers have left the gates open and the cattle have got mixed up. And they've taken precious water from our dams without asking. So this first experience that I had of mining was a breach of trust that my family had. They felt a lack of respect for the things that they hold dear and for people that had come onto their property. So it was a very early lesson for me about trust and respect. And that was really my parents' only exposure to mining. So you can imagine how they felt when I joined the mining industry as a young person out of school and studying. And here I am, decades later, still very much in the mining industry. And I didn't think that I would be here decades later. So I'm going to talk about three experiences that I've had. Every every day in my work at the Development Partner Institute, I learn more and more about respect, about human connection, about belonging, all vital ingredients for the melting pot of social innovation. There are examples, I think, from the world of mining that can apply equally to other sectors, from tech to agriculture, from food production to tourism. Mining has been around for thousands of years, and yet mining will make the future world possible. There's a race on at the moment for minerals like copper, lithium, and nickel. And some of the world's biggest challenges like climate change and technology are going to require significant increases in production of copper, lithium, nickel, and other minerals. So some predictions are that copper demand will increase by 6 times by 2030, 6 times. Yet many of the big sticky challenges that we face, whilst they're going to be solved through transformation that occurs as a result of mining, it feels to me like there's a puzzle where all the pieces have not yet been found. Can mining, which is a really highly structured engineering, production, profit-centred industry, work with communities and other stakeholders to create social innovation and to solve challenges? At the same time as mining demand is increasing, we're seeing communities around the world more actively pushing back against mining in their local and regional areas. And we know that mining can bring benefit to people and communities, and yet we also know that too often it doesn't. And so we're seeing a clash between demand for minerals and pushback from communities. And so the 3 stories that I'm going to tell you are about experiences that I've had in social innovation. And the thread that connects all of these are people and transformative change, are human connection, inclusion, and diversity. I'm going to take you on a journey from central Kalimantan to the Hunter Valley in Australia, and then to Zambia on the African continent. So strap yourselves in and off we go as we explore these ideas of social innovation, of diversity of perspectives, of human connection. And each of these stories also has an element of development partnership. So firstly, let's travel to the tropical forests of Kalimantan. So we'll travel about 8,000 kilometres southeast of Riyadh, about 30 hours of flying followed by a boat or a helicopter ride to get into Kalimantan on the island of Borneo in Indonesia. This is the habitat of the endangered orangutan and also home to large untapped mining resources amid tropical forests. In this story, we're also going back in time to 2008. Miners, environmentalists, and local communities are in conflict. A clash is emerging. This part of Indonesia is remote, and much of it is inaccessible except by helicopter or boat. This is a region with small communities living adjacent to major waterways. Rural communities that have mainly lived the same way for thousands of years. Although they have limited access to education and health facilities, and in many cases also lack access to clean drinking water and electricity. Some people in the communities say that economic development is a pathway to the future. Yet many others are also concerned about the impacts in these areas of astonishing natural beauty and rich biodiversity. The endangered orangutan has captured the attention of civil society organisations, and many of those are based thousands of kilometres away in London or Europe. The orangutan is a special animal. It's charismatic, it's beautiful with its orange fur. It's clever and terribly endangered. And local communities and environmentalists are beginning to band together to save the region. The orangutans have been hunted for food, and they've suffered from unsustainable and often illegal logging, conversion of forests to agriculture and palm oil plantations. One particularly catastrophic event was forest fires in Kalimantan, which killed up to 8,000 individual orangutans, these endangered orangutans, around 1997, 1998. So what could be done about this? Could the endangered orangutan be saved? What was really causing its demise? Importantly, what's the role of mining and the contribution to the demise of the orangutan? Could miners help to protect the orangutan? And could mining and orangutan conservation coexist? So we're going to leave Kalimantan for a while. I'll come back to Kalimantan, to those questions, what can be done. And we're going to travel to the Hunter Valley in New South Wales in Australia. So to travel from this part of Kalimantan to the Hunter Valley requires a couple of plane flights over 5,500 kilometres and then a 4-hour drive northwest of Sydney in Australia. It's 2010 in the Hunter Valley. Mining in this region has been growing for decades. There are 11 mining companies operating in the region, and it's a rich agricultural region, producing cattle and crops, from grapes for winemaking to other crops for human and animal consumption. And what we're seeing is a growing conflict between mining companies and community. And community members are expressing concerns about impacts to land, to water and air quality. And miners who've been working to manage their effects of mining are feeling a disconnect between them and the expectations of and those of government, community and other stakeholders. There's a 60-minute investigative documentary called A Dirty Business. It reports nationwide on the community's battles to be heard. All is not well. The discontent at the rapid expansion of mining and the scale of it is reaching proportions where there's significant fear in the community that mining is damaging their livelihoods, their health, their land, their water, their air. There's also limited understanding between the miners and the community, and almost no listening and no place to listen. This seems to be a classic challenge that is not going to be sorted out by any one party alone. It seemed clear that a completely new approach would be needed. Could it be possible to reframe the conversation? Could it be possible to take a different approach? And if so, what might that require? What are the deepest fears that people hold? And was there any way that they could be addressed? So they are the questions in the Hunter Valley. So we've gone from Kalimantan to the Hunter Valley, and now we're going to travel across in space and time about 12,000 kilometres, almost due west, across the Indian Ocean to Zambia. This third story is about a country with a long history of mining, a country where mining contributes almost 10% to GDP of Zambia and about 78% of exports. Yet it is also a country with higher levels of poverty than it would like to have. Around mining operations, contrary to what you might expect, there are people living with little or no access to clean water, to electricity, to education, to health facilities. Can mining be a catalyst for communities to advance? And if so, what would that look like? What would it take to bring people together? So we have 3 different places, Kalimantan, the Hunter Valley and Zambia, with 3 different sets of challenges. We have the sprawling tropical forest of Kalimantan with endangered orangutans and a rich cultural history of local people living amongst the forest and the rivers. There's a clash building between environmentalists and miners. We have the agricultural region of the Hunter Valley with its history of mining and conflicts between community and mining growing. And in Zambia, we have a need and a desire to build community prosperity and health while enabling the mining sector to advance and grow. Let's return for a few minutes to Kalimantan. At the time I was in Kalimantan, I worked for one of those mining companies, and I was asked, what would I do if I were to seek solutions for these issues? This was a prospective mining operation that hadn't been built. I said I would talk to people to understand their concerns much more deeply, and I would bring them together, the miners, the environmentalists, the local people, to see what we could learn from one another. We were also conducting analysis to more deeply understand what was causing the orangutan to be so endangered. And I said we should share that information openly. And so we did that. And the conversations we had were rich and passionate. And it also became clear that there were environmentalists who, despite their concern about the impacts of mining, appreciated that the area of land that would be impacted by mining was small in comparison to agriculture and forestry. We shared our analysis openly, and we all began to see that each other had a genuine interest in finding solutions. So jointly, we very tentatively developed some ideas for things that could have a significant and beneficial effect by helping to better understand where land clearing was occurring. Importantly, to help communities to access alternative food sources because the orangutan was hunted for food, and to work out what ways could be helpful for communities to be encouraged to protect orangutans, as they were often seen as a pest by local communities. Then the environmentalists and the communities began to think about setting aside some land for agriculture and some land for conservation, so that land management could become much more intentional in ways that were controlled by government and the community. Those conversations were incredible. All participants learned a great deal about one another, about their motivations, about their fears. And as the conversations developed, they moved from rhetoric to curiosity. They became frank and sometimes painful and often uncomfortable. And I remember miners saying, I never thought I'd be here, sitting across from environmentalists with great respect for their views and their perspectives, and environmentalists saying similar things in their own words. It was through those amazing conversations that we were able to build sufficient trust and create a joint program that enabled the most useful work to be advanced in a productive way. It was exciting an approach that was focused on listening to understand. And importantly, it was about inclusion of diverse perspectives and approach. I want to digress for a moment. There's some wonderful work that's been done by researchers that has consistently shown that diverse teams feel less comfortable, but they perform better. Homogeneous teams, on the other hand, teams that are made up of similar people, feel that they perform better, but the research has shown that they don't. They actually don't. In a 2006 study of mock juries, for example, when Black people were added to a white jury, white jurors processed facts more carefully and deliberated more effectively. Another study in 2016 of 20,000 firms in 91 countries clearly showed that the firms with more female executives were more profitable. I truly believe, and my experience has shown me, that it is the diversity of perspectives, the environmentalists, the miners, the government, who came to the table in Kalimantan, who were brave enough to explore new ideas and to listen to one another, that made the real difference. For me, that's the heart of social innovation. So leaving Kalimantan now and racing back to the Hunter Valley in Australia, you'll remember that there was conflict between community and miners. In that instance, the community was railing against the growing impacts of mining to their water, their land, and their air. The community had already got together and agreed this can't go on. Then the miners came together and they said, this can't go on. We have to do something radically different. And that meant sitting together. This was called the Upper Hunter Mining Dialogue, and it exists today. It has involved people from all walks of life coming together to explore new ideas, new ways of thinking and operating. It has created energy and momentum and resulted in amazing new ideas being explored for rehabilitation of land after mining. New ideas sparked from these conversations. New ideas that have been tested, reported to the community, implemented. It's meant visits to mines, to farms, to see the challenges that miners faced firsthand and farmers face firsthand. It's meant a renewed respect and connection between the participants. I remember one of the farmers saying to me, I never thought I'd be here, sitting across from miners, talking about ideas to manage their land differently. Now, as we come to the end of my talk, we're going to fly back to Zambia, so all the way west to Zambia. Last year, my organisation, the Development Partner Institute, teamed up with Prospero, which is a UK government-funded organisation working on development. We brought together miners, community members, other sectors like agriculture, investors, and government to explore the ideas of development partnership and to develop a strategic community investment framework. This entailed a lot of conversations between different stakeholders. Our job at the Development Partner Institute was to create the spaces for these kinds of conversations to happen. So we held 3 sessions with about 30 to 35 people in each. We explored questions like the importance of local economic development in mining regions, establishing a joint mining social investment strategy, and developing a short list of agreed core pillars for the strategy. At the Development Partner Institute, we see Zambia embodying a future that's attainable for all mining economies, one where mining's contribution to long-term development is genuine and inclusive, and assured well beyond the life of mines. We envisage Zambia and other countries around the world to be able to look back in decades to come and see a mining sector that's transformed, yet is humble in its work as a catalyst for development. We see people in communities right at the centre of social investment and development. We imagine the buzz of development that is equitable, that's fair and inclusive, and built on the foundation of community needs. In this future, other sectors like agriculture, tourism, and IT work collaboratively with mining to create lasting, effective, and integrated development. I feel so encouraged to see the strides forward that we've taken in Zambia and many other countries where we've operated. As people together, we collectively begin to shape new ways of thinking and engaging. This spirit of cooperation allows us to overcome challenges of COVID-19 and to engage one another in different ways, in virtual settings, in person, to strive to understand one another's goals and motivations. The multiple perspectives that people have brought to the discussions of mining as a development partner have led to rich conversations and new insights. We know that some participants are more prepared than others to welcome the potential for different approaches. We understand that some feel discomfort with the conversations and the ideas, and that's okay. It's natural that transformation will, in its early stages, face some criticism, and it can be very messy and non-linear in its progress. I'm willing to suggest that there may be some in the audience who, in our conversations in Zambia, who've said, I didn't think I'd be here. And perhaps in this audience as well. Some final brief comments. The thread that runs through these three examples in Kalimantan, the Hunter Valley and Zambia is the thread of ideas that connect people and really make a difference. It's actually more than that. It's about human connection. It's about valuing difference. It's about listening and being willing to act on ideas. That's what makes all the difference. And the complex challenges that I spoke about right at the beginning that we face are only going to be resolved by committed people working together. To me, it's the connection between land and people, between diversity and respect for diversity, inclusion of new ideas and ways of thinking that can solve these challenges. And at the DPI, we dream of bringing different people together to explore cross-sectoral dialogue as a mechanism for problem solving. The results of these conversations, in my experience, conducted well, are always surprising. And that's where curiosity is vital. Curiosity, and I would say humility, and bringing an open mind to the table. And I want to see more of that. We believe at the Development Partner Institute that the transformative power of mining is significant. We have a clear vision for the future of the sector, and we want to build a movement to propel us for a better sector for all. One that's deeply connected to the values of tomorrow's generation, that's transparent and fair, equal and inclusive, and a genuine partner in global development. And the principles of social innovation, of collaboration and innovation are right at the heart of achieving that. If you'd like to learn more about the Development Partner Institute, you can find us at DPI Mining, Development Partner Institute Mining, dpimining.org. And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Shukran. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conference, and I will so look forward to hearing your stories of social innovation and perhaps the opportunity for us to learn together. Thank you very much.
Hi, Dr. Wendy. Thank you for introducing this. Dr. Wendy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just now.
Thank you very much for introducing this location. And we have to take a break now. Thank you for introducing us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome, Dr. Wendy.